Here is the latest Higher Summits forecast brought to you by our friends at the Mount Washington Observatory.
Weather above treeline in the White Mountains is often wildly different than at our trailheads. Before you hike, check the Higher Summits forecast at mountwashington.org. Weather observers working at the nonprofit Mount Washington Observatory write this elevation-based forecast every morning and afternoon. Search and rescue teams, avalanche experts, and backcountry guides all rely on the Higher Summits forecast to anticipate weather conditions above treeline. You should too. Go to mountwashington.org or text forecast to 603-356-2137. And here is your forecast for Friday, April 19th and Saturday, April 20th. Friday, mostly in the clouds with a slight chance of morning snow flurries, then a slight chance of afternoon rain showers. Possible snow accumulations of a trace to less than 1 inch. High will be in the lower 30s. Winds will be southwest at 20 to 35 miles per hour, increasing to 45 to 60 miles per hour, with gusts up to 70 miles per hour. Wind chills will be 5 to 15 above. Friday night, in the clouds with a chance of mixed showers, possible snow and sleet accumulations of a trace to 1 inch, low in the mid-20s with winds southwest shifting west at 50 to 70 miles per hour, with gusts up to 80 miles per hour, decreasing to 45 to 60 miles per hour, and the wind chill will be 5 to 15 above. Saturday, mostly in the clouds with a chance for snow showers, possible snow accumulations of a trace to 2 inches with a high in the mid-20s, decreasing through the day to around 20. Winds will be west at 45 to 60 miles per hour early, 35 to 50 miles per hour midday, and 45 to 60 miles per hour later. Wind chill will be 0 to 10 above, falling to 0 to 10 below.
Broadcasting from the Woodpeckers Studio in the great state of New Hampshire. Welcome to the Sounds Like a Search and Rescue podcast, where we discuss all things related to hiking and search and rescue in the White Mountains of New Hampshire. Here are your hosts, Mike and Stump.
I am recording.
Yeah, sounds good here.
Cracking a beer.
Hell yeah.
All right. Welcome to episode, what is this, 148? I haven't been paying attention.
148.
148, almost at 150, which is good.
Starting to lose track.
Yeah. We got to get this done quick. I got to clean the house up tonight. My wife and kids are coming home tomorrow, so I've been solo all week.
Dishes and the whole thing, vacuum.
Yeah. It's travel season for Mrs. Mike. She's once again down in Florida while I'm solo. But, every time she comes back, she does the glove test. There's too much dust around. So I got to clean up.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
Mrs. Stomp catches me every afternoon doing dishes when she pulls up into the driveway.
Yeah. You procrastinate. You're like, oh crap! I have to fold all that laundry that's been sitting there all week. So hopefully she's not listening to this.
Oh man, that's hilarious.
Yeah. Anyway.
Well, welcome back.
Yeah. It's good to be back, and we'll talk about what you've been up to while I was gone. But Welcome to episode 148 of the Sounds Like a Search and Rescue podcast. This week we are highlighting a recent trip to the Tatra Mountains of Slovakia. So we love the White Mountains in New Hampshire here, but occasionally we do highlight other areas. So took a recent trip to Poland and Slovakia, so I'll break down some of the travel details, the logistics, and the culture around this beautiful part of the world. Took a cool hike over there, so we'll talk about that and maybe inspire some of you listeners to get out of New Hampshire and go check out other parts of the world. Plus recent hikes on Moosilauke and Welch Dickey, and it is tick season, so we got some reminders for you. Stomp pulled another article to wrap up the eclipse that seems to be never ending. And we've got a story about the head of a nonprofit trail association has been accused of fraud. So we'll break that story down. And then we've got some highlights of New Hampshire's historical markers. So I'm Mike.
And I'm Stomp. Let's get started.
This is Ben Pease from Hiking Buddies. We are a 501c3 nonprofit committed to reducing avoidable tragedies through education, impactful projects, and fostering a community of support. You can find out more at hikingbuddies.org. We wanted to say thank you to those who have supported our mission, and most importantly, say thanks to those who speak up, who ask questions, and who are willing to provide guidance and assistance on the trails when needed. You embody what it means to be a hiking buddy. And now, for all my newer hikers out there, here's this episode's Hiking Buddies Quick Tip.
Weather can change drastically within the same hike. Always prepare for more than what you think you need when navigating quickly changing weather systems. Always carry a rain layer, as precipitation can greatly affect body temperature regulation.
Let's get started. So,
Hell yeah.
Yeah. So, I listened to the podcast last week. It was like off the rails. You guys got to rein it in, out of control. Different
crazy?
vibe. So has Dave Shits in the Woods been added to our LLC yet? Is he a equal partner?
Yeah, who knows, man?
Yeah.
Those guys are wild.
Yes.
Yeah, I was looking for a little help, and they both agreed. I'm like, yeah, all right, great. So that was fun. It was a good time. Definitely a different dynamic with Dave mixed with Eric. Eric is a little calmer and more reserved when Dave isn't around, I would think.
Yes.
But it was a good time. So interesting response. It was a lot of fun.
Oh, yeah, they were great. I'm not happy with Dave, though. How dare he sneak in a notable hike while I'm not looking.
Yeah. It's just too funny.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
So that's good. All
notable
right.
hike.
Well, they're not. I think they earned themselves a future gig next time one of us is out of town. So they did well.
Yeah, no question. It was a lot of fun. But I got to tell you, man, doing a podcast solo is a lot of work. I really missed your help doing the show notes and everything else. I felt like I was doing the podcast a whole week long.
It's hard. It's hard, right?
It is, man.
Yeah.
It's a lot of work. I got to hand it to people like Stosh and all the other solo podcasters out there. It's a lot.
It is.
And I purposely broke up the 48 Peaks with Eric and Dave on purpose. It just would have been too much. So I felt like I was doing the podcast all damn week.
Yeah. And for the listeners, so I think we've talked about this before, but for people that are curious, essentially what we do, so we record Thursday nights, and we'll throw we have a group chat, me and Stomp, and then Lynn will throw some stuff in, and then we get some content from our friends Al, and I get some other folks that will throw some stuff my way for sure, but we'll typically work on the script during the week pretty casually and then record on Thursday nights, and then Stomp does the editing, and then I do the show notes and upload into the system. So we split the work But if one of us has to do all that work, it's it's a lot.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
And I have a new appreciation for the show notes because I had to edit while simultaneously jotting down the time signatures and the notes and the hyperlinks and this and that. It's like, oh damn.
See that, and that's why I like give you a hard time about like when on the script, like put the hyperlinks nicely on the script so you can just paste them into the show notes. So
yeah, it saved time. Yeah, it was crazy, but it was a good experience anyway.
Yeah, well, all right. Enough of our problems. Let's get on to the show here. So it's tick season. So Stomp, explain this to me. You pulled an article on Outside Magazine that talks about hikers should try to smell like ants in order to repel ticks.
Yeah, apparently a Canadian study found that chemicals excreted by ants keep ticks at bay. So this may be some new method to keep Lyme disease away from us. But isn't that strange? It's pheromones, essentially. Just these incredible scents that we don't perceive, but ants give off, and apparently they repel ticks. Huh. So who knew? I don't know how they would apply this, but I guess we'll see some ant-derived tick spray in the near future, right?
Yeah, I would think so. I mean, maybe they just put a bunch of ants in a blender and then make ant juice. I would assume that's how they
chug,
right? And they just extract them somehow.
Yeah, who knows? It's very interesting.
Yeah, I think
I want to be one of these scientists that studies this stuff. Like, how do you get a gig like that?
Yeah, it is. I don't know how they. And I think that's one of the things about like you knock people going to college and stuff, but I think that there's certain research grants where people can just play around with these ideas and sometimes they become products.
Yeah, right. Yeah, who knows? It does say it's the odor is similar to vinegar, but only at higher concentrations. So maybe there's some connection there with vinegar.
I don't know, but I'm definitely down for taking a bunch of ants and putting them in a blender and see what it smells like.
Let me know how it goes.
Yeah, I'll do that. That would be a good science experiment. But it is funny, like now I've noticed like more and more over the last like 4 or 5 years, especially in springtime, I get these flyers in the mail and more like these pest control companies, they now are leading with tick control. So you'll get these, it used to be these flyers that would be like, oh, call AAA pest control if you have bats in your house or mice or whatever. And now it's like, oh, we offer tick treatment for lawn services and stuff like that. And I just wonder how effective those are.
Yeah, who knows? I'd be nervous about what they're spraying too. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that is a big business.
Yeah.
Here, anyway.
Yeah, I've just noticed it more and more over the years. And then I also see like a lot of people on like the local town social media, and they're like, I run in my area, and sometimes I'll comment about like, oh, go check out Woodsum Farm or whatever. And people will respond and they'll be like, oh, I don't want to go there because there's ticks. And it's kind of sad. Mm-hmm. Like, I understand people are nervous, but don't not go outside because you're afraid of ticks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the first time you have to pull one off of you successfully is the time you'll be over it.
Yes.
That's sort of where I am at the moment. Like,
yeah. I'll take the risk.
But
I'll take the risk.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. Well, and speaking of taking the risk, 2 Wyoming hunters may be the first in the U.S. to die of zombie deer disease.
Yeah, strange, right?
Yeah, what is this?
This is breaking as of, it's today. This is clickbait for sure, coming from the Daily Mail out of the UK, but apparently 2 Wyoming hunters died from what is commonly known as chronic wasting disease, which is a malady that deer populations suffer with. And I think, does it affect moose as well? I want to say maybe, but I'm not 100% sure. But nonetheless, they're hyping it up, calling it zombie deer disease, but CWD apparently may have killed 2 hunters that ate venison recently out of Wyoming. So it's a pretty interesting story. I guess it's something that you might want to keep track of.
Yeah. It's essentially like mad cow disease, but for deer.
Okay, yeah. Creutzfeldt-Jakob disease, which is a wasting disease of the neurological system. Not a good thing to catch, but apparently it's something that's on the radar.
Okay, well, I'll put this in the show notes, and I think people should just be careful if they're eating deer. I guess cook it well.
I suppose. Yeah. Who knows?
That's a little crazy. I did see a video, not related to hiking, but I saw a video of somebody overdosing on drugs, and they literally looked like a zombie from The Walking Dead. I don't know what drugs they were on, but the police were all surrounding the person, and it was like this video about I think it happened in Florida because it always is in Florida, but it was pretty crazy.
I was going to say San Fran.
Oh, San Francisco, but I think this one was in Florida, but it's scary. All right, Stomp. I wanted to just throw out a heads up. So if any of the listeners have young people that need to get volunteer hours, we're getting close to like graduation period. So this is the time of the year where like kids realize that they have to do 40 hours of volunteer work and they've only done like 2 and they've got to scramble. So there is a volunteer opportunity in the White Mountains to clean up along the Kank. So this is White Mountain National Forest trash cleanup event, which is happening on April 27th, which I believe is a Saturday, Stomp?
I think it's next week. Yeah, next Saturday.
Yeah. So
Saturday is the 20th.
Yeah. So if you're interested, you can apply. I'll put a link in. It's under volunteer.gov. And you can apply to either start at Lincoln Woods Visitor Center or the Saco Ranger Station in Conway along the Kank. And it looks like they want people to volunteer to pick up trash in and around the area. So from 9 a.m. until about 12 or 1. Please wear boots or sturdy footwear, good outdoor clothing for getting dirty, and bring leather gloves if available. Nitrile gloves will be distributed, and this is a rain or shine event. So they want you to help pick up the trash. And the point of contact is John Marinowski, and I'll include his email address if you're interested. So it's a White Mountain National Forest trash cleanup, and it's good if you just want to volunteer your time, but also I would assume that this would qualify for volunteer hours for young people if they have to do that for their school.
So it's specific to the Kank?
Yeah, it looks like it's like cleaning up along the Kank, starting from Lincoln Woods and then Saco. And I'm assuming they probably have vehicles where they're going to drop people off in certain areas. But I think a lot of people drop their shot glasses and beer cans or they're driving over the... Yeah, I hate it, yeah.
It's so terrible.
Yeah.
It's everywhere. I mean... We have our share here too, like right at the Welch Dickey area. All the people that just come up, they just throw trash on the sides of the roads. Like I've been out there myself cleaning crap up. It never ends. Unbelievable.
I know there's I actually run more in the woods now locally, but there is like one route that I do that's more along the road if it's like bad weather. And I just wonder about these people, but like there's this whole section of, there's no houses around, but like there's this whole section where there's like hundreds of these nips, you know, those like small alcohol bottles.
Yeah.
So it must be like one person that just like gets those nips and drinks them on their way home from work or wherever. And then they know where to throw them and they just collect on the side of the road. And it's just like, first of all, you're drinking and driving. Second of all, you're littering. So it's a double whammy.
Right. So you should be out there with a trash bag while you're jogging, just picking that stuff up.
Yeah, I get. I'm not going to touch it. Like I'm like these people have hepatitis or something. So.
Right.
All right, Stomp. So we had this is a big moment. You should probably put like a happy birthday drop or something in here. But our assistant to the assistant producer, Xylo, the new cat,
right,
the terror, has turned 1 year old today.
Yeah, can you believe it? Yeah, 1 year old. So I'm a bad dad at the moment doing the podcast when I should be celebrating with Mrs. Stomp and Xylo downstairs, but they're downstairs having extra wetties, I guess, wet food. But happy birthday, Xylo. He's a great little kitty.
I don't even think twice about that thing until it like walks across my screen.
Right. Well, I locked him out tonight. Oh. I just needed a little air between me and the kitties.
And so you have two cats. You have Xylo and then you have Daphne. Does Daphne get along with Xylo now, or are they standoffish?
Don't forget Luna.
Oh, so you got Luna 3. Too.
Yeah, so 2 tuxedos, Luna and Daphne, and then Xylo. Daphne's like the protective...
Xylo's a ginger cat, right?
Correct. Yeah, orange and white, and then 2 tuxedos. Luna hates both of them. She's the oldest. She's the elder cat, and then Daphne's very protective of Xylo to a degree. Daphne's like the vigilant one that's up all night, just making sure everybody's safe.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's fun.
All right. But, in related cat news, so we have we have Floki, who is the White Mountains hiking cat. And apparently, so our friend Al had sent over a link to this story about a rescue that happened in Colorado. The Rocky Mountain Rescue Group shared a photo on social media saying that they were moonlighting as Mountain. How do you say that, Stomp? It's Mountain Rescuers.
Mountain?
Yeah, like mountain, but meow.
Yeah, they're ripping off Mrs. Stomp.
Apparently. So
Mountain.
Yeah, Mountain Rescuers. So
funny.
They rescued 2 climbers and their cat from the first Flatiron in Boulder, Colorado. So the photo shows 2 climbers sitting perched high on the famous rocky peak with the cat, whose name is Link. So apparently rescuers gave them headlamps and lowered all 3 to safety. In a video on Link's Instagram account, he and his owner, Austin, can be seen climbing the Montezuma Tower in the Garden of Gods in Colorado Springs. So apparently they take this cat out. I don't know what happened with the details on the rescue. They don't really give a lot of details, but the cat climbs with them. It's a pretty good-sized cat, too, Stomp.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I'm looking at the pics. That's about the size of Xylo for sure. He's probably like a good 15, 20 pounds.
Yeah. And it's a good-looking cat. Looks a little bit like Floki. He has his own Instagram account, so I feel like, Floki should follow Link and Link should follow Floki, so... we'll see. Apparently, this cat is a 1.5 years old. It was adopted in Texas, living in Colorado, and is a climber, an adventure breaker of boundaries and stigmas, and a lover of boops.
Okay.
Yeah. And the cat's owner has some pretty good photos of the cat. Looks like the cat made it to the Grand Canyon. The cat's got all kinds of Rocky Mountain National Park, the whole thing here. So,
so cute. What I really want to know is, did they get out of a bill? Let's get to the real juice here, right?
Yeah, I don't really know if they did or not. It doesn't give a lot of details. It's just like the cat was on a rescue. Go look at our Instagram page.
Yeah, sort of weird. Like how to get out of a bill.
Yes.
Bring a cat.
Yeah. All right. So wrapping up Eclipse news, Stomp, you pulled one more article that gave some metrics on the volume of vehicles that were around for the Eclipse.
Yeah, they're saying that 50,000 more cars than usual were heading south after the New Hampshire Eclipse. That's a good amount of volume. I mean, I was definitely hearing rumors and stories Monday into Tuesday, but 54K, that's a lot of cars clogging up the arteries.
Yes, it is. I'm kind of glad I missed it.
It is. Yes. Yeah, you didn't miss much. It was pretty cool, but yeah. So that is the last final Eclipse update that you will hear from us for another 21 years. Yes.
Stay tuned for episode 1132. And
right. Full AI Mike and Stomp coming at you.
Yeah. I was listening to a podcast about that. Like there was somebody who was talking about they created an AI version of somebody who had died, And I was like, well, that would be perfect for us. Like you could load up all of our, and then our family members could just like, ask us questions and we would answer.
Right. Yeah. No, I think we're at that point now.
Yeah. We can live forever.
Correct. Yeah. There's enough, I would assume there's enough content already to pull that off. Maybe not.
I don't know.
But
yeah,
in and around the hiking topic, I think that, whoever would take us over when we're long gone and buried would be fine. They could carry on the SLASR name into the millennia.
AI. All right. So you pulled this. So this next article is 21 types of hikers. So you understand when you pull these articles, like this is simply like affiliate marketing, clickbait nonsense, right?
Oh, totally. You know what's even funnier about it? There are like a dozen articles that say 5 types of hikers, 12 types of hikers, 17 types of hikers. So I found the one with the highest number, and that's 21 types of hikers.
So this article is such garbage, but it's kind of funny. So anyway, so there's 21 types of hikers. So I'll just run them down quickly. And like there's so much crossover that it's ridiculous. But they got the weekend warrior, which I think is like people that do backpacking overnight, gear junkies, which I'm probably one of, outdoorsmen, which I don't really know what that is. The nature lovers, those are the photographers. The mountain man are like extreme people. The ultralight So this ultralight backpacker, this article, it basically gives a summary of each type, and then it will like recommend a piece of gear that you can buy. And the ultralight backpacker, they're like, the ultralight backpacker is someone who takes a minimalist approach to a backpack. Then they have a picture of a guy wearing a Nike like string bag. Like that's not ultralight. And then they have a link to this like Zomaki ultralight backpack that comes in like 27 different colors and is a plastic backpack, and it's $14.
Right.
So like no one's going to use that. I mean, I might buy this thing just to see what it's like, but I mean, it's just,
we could do a gear review.
Yeah. So, okay. So anyway, so I went through 6 of these. So there's the day hiker, which again, that's us. There's a beach bum, which that's
I don't know what the hell that is.
That's like Mrs. Mike. I don't know who that is. The thru hiker. Okay. The casual camper. So that's a car camper. The campfire connoisseur. I don't know what that is. Then there's a car camper. Then there's a backcountry beginner, a family adventurer, an urban adventurer. I don't know what that is. A socialite, an outdoors enthusiast, an adventure racer, a wilderness first responder, stomp, globetrotter, that's me, international traveler, that's me
that's
too.
You.
Yeah. So, I don't know.
So, there's several categories per person here. I think the urban adventurer might be the like the Boston Hills type of guy, like Gingerbeard, hitting Boston Hills or Wachusett. Family adventure would be like the Dad Venture crew.
Yep.
The Benz crew, yeah.
Yep.
But I mean, it's all right. But there is a ton of crossover, you're right.
All right. Well, I will. I'll link this in the show notes and people can check it out. But it's just like the products that are associated with each one of these are complete garbage. But
that's funny.
All right. So Stomp, speaking of technology, so we were talking about AI earlier. We've done a couple of segments where we've talked about these exoskeletons. So an exoskeleton is a device that will basically wrap around your waist or your back, and then will allow for enhanced movement of your limbs. So
that's incredible.
Yeah. So there's this Chinese startup company that is working on a lightweight exoskeleton to give people superhuman hiking ability. So, yeah.
So it's like Fallout. It's like those
yeah, exactly, but not like
robot
a full
frames.
Yeah, but not a full robot frame. But it's a AI-driven outdoor exoskeleton, and the X1 from Chinese startup Denesis is a motorized AI that wraps around your waist and thighs to upgrade your anatomy with 600 watts of walking, hiking, scrambling, climbing, and running power. So it shoulders up to 83 pounds of load and empowers users with speeds up to 16 miles an hour and then packs down small. So it doesn't say how much it weighs. It's a Kickstarter. No, here it is. It's 3.5 pounds. And you can get a little bit bigger that gives an extra 100 watts. But I'll be curious about this. So we'll see. I mean, I think these are all prototypes, but eventually I do think that these exoskeletons will become a factor in the future. So imagine, Stomp, when we're old and like can't barely walk, if we can slap one of these exoskeletons on and go hiking, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, I see it applying to that, but not the people they're showing in these images. I mean, these people are young and fit, and they definitely don't need the boost of a robot pushing them along. You know what I mean?
Yeah. These guys are like hipster hikers. They don't need it.
Oh, totally.
So
I see two other issues too. Like, how do you control it? Is it responsive to does it activate when you move, or is it just a program? And B, I can imagine one hell of a pack rash because the thing goes around your waist. Can you imagine the pack rash if you were trying to do like a Zealand Bonds traverse with that thing on? No, thanks.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see what the final form becomes of these things, because I think that this is just probably it puts too much stress on your waist and your lower back.
Oh, tons. Yeah.
So
they may have gotten the idea from the rehab world, because even just today I was looking at a small TENS unit for a patient, and it's called a cross walker cycler, and you put them on either leg and it's a cycle. So it makes you move your legs based upon the stimulation. It cycles back and forth. So they may have gotten the idea from this, but interesting times. And an additional spur, I know this is off topic, but have you seen the new Atlas that Boston Dynamics has produced? It's all battery driven and no more hydraulics. Have you seen this video?
I did see that. Yeah, it was like weird, like the thing like flipped over and stuff. And matter of fact, my old office, I think Boston Dynamic took over like 6 or 7 of those floors. So I don't go in too often, but like if I do go in, I'd love to spot one of those robots.
Dude, it's definitely a new level of robot engineering. These things are incredible now. Super agile, just the mobility of the joints. It's really impressive and scary at the same time.
When are we going to put automatic weapons on these things? And like, when are we going to go full Black Mirror with these?
Totally. Yeah, I think we're at that point for sure, unfortunately, but
scary.
Yep. Wild.
All right. Well, yeah.
So there you go.
We'll see. All right, Stomp. So we got a big weekend. We're going out Saturday night. We got the AMC Awards, so we're going to be there. We got a table set up. We've got Vaucluse ventilation frames that we're going to be selling at the table. So I just posted tonight on our Facebook group. So if anybody wants to pre-order one, they're going to be a little bit cheaper, discounted, so $30. And we'll have a bunch at the table. So swing by if you're there, and you can get stickers, and you can even say happy anniversary to Mr. and Mrs. Stomp, and then we're going to have microphones and we'll interview people. They can tell their story about what inspired them to do the 4,000 footers.
Pretty neat. Yeah. Exeter, New Hampshire. Doors open at 3. I do not know if you can go in if you don't have a ticket or not. I'm not quite sure about that. But yeah, looking forward to saying hi to everybody. And like Mike said, we will have mics up recording. And it's going to be a good time. Low stress. And again, shout out to Mrs. Stomp, because it is our anniversary, and we're actually going to take off after the main table time and head out to a local
You should check out, you should go to like Portsmouth or the Wentworth or something.
You nailed it. You called it. We're going to the Wentworth.
Oh, you are? Okay. Yeah. That's perfect. That's perfect.
Yeah. So, it's going to be great. So I'm not going to stick around for the awards, but that's all good because I don't want to get murdered by my wife.
Yeah. I can clean up the table and all that stuff. So, that's perfect. Okay. So romantic, Stomp.
Oh, yeah. Hey. Well, it's our anniversary.
Yes.
Number 11.
Keep that sparking.
Yeah, no kidding, huh?
All right. So this is a weird story. So the former head of the White Mountain Trail nonprofit has been accused of financial fraud. So there's a trial set for this summer. Federal authorities allege that Melanie Luce, who led the Campton-based White Mountains Trail Collective. I feel like we've probably like given plugs to this group over the years and said like, go help them out or whatever. But apparently the head of this illegally spent more than $30,000 on the group's credit card and PayPal account on personal expenses on multiple occasions in 2021. She's also accused of fabricating a document purporting to show that she had successfully obtained $475,000 in grants on behalf of the nonprofit. And because she was able to claim that she had obtained these grants, it earned her a $20,000 performance bonus. So she must have had like a performance bonus kicker in her contract with the board. And, she just basically falsified documents so that she could get that money. She's also accused of submitting false records to obtain a COVID-19 federal loan on behalf of her website development company, which is called Prema Web Design. Yeah. So according to a grand jury from December, Luce knowingly and willfully executed and attempted to execute a scheme and artifice to defraud a local bank when she more than doubled her actual revenue for the company as part of it. So she's got two things going on. She's scamming the nonprofit, and then she's using her web design company to scam loan applications. So the crazy thing about this is, so she pled not guilty, and the lawyers being all lawyerly and saying that we're addressing the allegations against her through the court process, and Miss Luce is reserving her comments until the time comes for her to speak in court. Good luck. Here's the crazy thing is that in 2012, Luce had pled guilty to 4 counts of felony theft and misuse of a credit card after stealing $185,000 from a medical practice in Plymouth. So this girl has been grifting her whole life, and she worked as an office manager there. She had to serve 12 months in the Grafton County House of Corrections and she was ordered to pay restitution. So it's not clear whether the White Mountain Trail Collective Board of Directors was aware of the previous conviction for embezzlement. So this is the thing about these nonprofits is these small nonprofits, they don't always have the controls they need in place. Like, did they do a background check on her? They probably would have caught the criminal conviction if they had done a background check. Probably not. Who knows? But apparently this was founded as a nonprofit in 2019, and they worked with partner agencies like the U.S. Forest Service and the AMC, as well as some smaller trail conservation organizations to raise money to restore heavily used trails. And they did a significant involvement in Crawford Path in the Mount Washington region. So, and they did a bunch of other good stuff. I'm sure there was plenty of work that they did, but unfortunately, one bad apple can really ruin it for everybody. But there was an audit by I guess they did an audit on the group, and it shows that Luce allegedly fabricated bank statements by adding digits to make it appear that the nonprofit had more cash on hand than it actually did by as much as $300,000. Because it shot some.
The Trail Collective?
Yeah, she was basically trying to land short-term loans, and she was saying that they had way more money on hand than they did. And she was using the credit card to pay for personal expenses, including car repairs and veterinary bills.
Dude, I can tell you one thing. The Trail Collective is going to have a new board.
It's shut down.
Lickety split.
It's done.
Is it done?
Oh, yeah.
I don't blame them.
Yeah, they dissolved in 2023. So,
for good reason, I'm sure. I will be really interested to see what comes out in the court proceedings. And wow, that's hardcore.
Yeah. So it'll be interesting to follow this. So again, her name is Melanie Luce. And she's been grifting since 2012 at least.
Wow.
Which is like not that uncommon. Like she was an office manager for a medical. Like I've heard that story over and over again over the years. Like these like small businesses get sucked in by an office manager, or an accountant that like no one's paying attention to things, and they're going on cruises and they're spending the credit card.
So somebody has to fill the gap here. I wonder if there's any other organization out there doing this work.
Well,
I mean, the mission of the nonprofit seemed pretty noble.
Yeah, I'll next week I'll pull together a list of all of the trail maintainers. I mean, there's the different trail groups, like Randolph Mountain Club. There's Wanalancet. There's the AMC, the Forest Service. They're always looking for volunteers. But I'll pull all the official trail maintainers options for people.
Yeah. Wow. That's hardcore, man.
It's crazy.
I just can't believe a board would not know that she spent time behind bars.
Well, I would imagine there had to have been a bunch of red flags that I guarantee you in these cases, it's never I'm shocked out of the blue. They guarantee there was people on the board that were something's up with this one. I don't have a good feeling. And they didn't track it down. They could have probably just Googled their name and found, although who knows, these people change their names around, so you don't know.
Wow, that's hardcore. I love it.
Yeah.
It's too funny.
Yeah. Well,
anyway.
There we go. All right, so moving on, this guy from Britain becomes the first person to run the length of Africa.
Yeah.
So running the length
Hold My Beer, Boston Marathon. It's this is incredible.
So is that
Russ Cook?
Is that east to west or north to south?
I assume it would be north to south, but let me see here. So it took him
it is north to south.
352 days, 9,900 miles, and unbelievable. It's over 16 countries because Africa is just packed with different countries across the way. He's 27-year-old endurance athlete from Worthing, West Sussex. So, wow, talk about upping the ante for these long endurance events. That's pretty amazing.
Yeah. And he looks like he stands out like a sore thumb in Africa because he's this red-headed, Viking-looking dude.
Running through the heart of Africa.
Yeah, he looks like, he looks like a younger version of the janitor from The Simpsons.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Oh God! So there you go.
He had a strawberry daiquiri.
Get your heart out.
You know what's crazy is I'm surprised. I guess I get it. You can't. So he basically went north to south or south to north, and he hugged the west coast of Africa for the most part. But he went to some sketchy areas. He went through the Republic of Congo. Yeah. He went through the Ivory Coast. And then I think, is it Mauritania that's dangerous too? And in Algeria, you got to go through the desert there. So, yeah, good for him.
That's quite the adventure.
I will never be doing that. I guarantee you that much.
Nope.
Nope. That is brave.
Yeah, amazing stuff.
Okay. What do you got next, Tom?
We have a public service announcement. Michael Petraka from the White Mountain National Forest sent us a message, and just wanted to alert the listenership that any recreationalists hiking up Zealand Road past the Sugarloaf campgrounds later this month, that there will be equipment and personnel working on the water tank across from the Sugarloaf campground. So they'll be on the road, and we'll do all that they can to keep a clear path. But just be aware, be careful, and respectful of the work being done. This will begin Saturday, April 20th to June 1st. And then later in the season, there will be efforts to do some work on the bridge beyond the Sugarloaf campgrounds as well. And they will keep us posted. So that's pretty cool, getting nice updates from various agencies in the Whites. So thank you very much.
Awesome.
Yeah. That's super handy to know.
Yeah. Fix those roads up.
Yeah. And by the way, it's the road opening should be happening anytime now. So we'll have to keep an update on that.
You think Zealand's going to get opened up soon?
I don't know, but I would assume so.
Yeah. I did hear Sawyer River or Sawyer Pond. What is it? Sawyer River Road, Sawyer Pond Road. I think that one's washed. Is that delayed? I think, didn't I?
Is it washed out again?
I think so. I think that they said that one was going to be delayed.
Yeah, let's tackle that soon so we can get a good update on that. Yeah, 'tis the season.
We all know that hiking a mountain can be hard at times. So here's a corny dad joke to help you get over it. Ba-dum-bum.
All right, Stomp. It's that time of the show where we do a dad joke.
It's all right. Let's hear it.
I actually have a bonus dad joke that Camilla sent me after this that I want to do. But for this one, all right, Stomp. I grilled a chicken for 2 hours yesterday. It still won't tell me why it crossed the road. Get it? I grilled the chicken, asked it questions instead of but
oh yeah. Interrogation.
Done. Yeah. So, all right, I got this bonus joke Camilla sent me, and I kind of laughed when it said. So, according to a recent poll, running into objects can be painful. Get it? According to a recent poll, instead of like a pole in the ground and you're running into it. So.
Oh man, those are good.
Yeah, I thought that was good. And then Camilla also sent me a video of her husband Lance. So Camilla and Lance do this thing where they jump up in the air in slow motion, and then it looks like they're
right.
And so Lance, they bought sweatshirts, SLASR sweatshirts. So she sent me this video. I'm going to send it to you, Stomp, of Lance spinning around and jumping like a. Yeah, it's indescribable, but it's hilarious. And he's got the SLASR sweatshirt on. So.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Hey, what's that sound? It must be time for the pop culture segment with Mike and Stomp.
So, all right, Stomp, this is the part of the show where we do pop culture talk.
Yeah, not much going on. I did finally catch up with Dune Part 2. I had to mortgage my house here to rent it and watch it here at home, but it was actually really impressive. Beautiful movie. Very long. It's 3 hours plus. But boy, did they knock it out of the park. It was really good.
Yeah. I was hoping it was going to be on the airplane options when I flew over to Europe, but it wasn't. So...
It's great. I really do wish I had seen it in the theaters, the IMAX version, because it's definitely a beautiful movie to watch. Acting's great.
Did you rent it or buy it?
It's awesome. I bought it, actually, just so that we could watch it again, because we've actually started it for a second time. It was that good.
Yeah, I had to watch the first one multiple times just to...
Sure.
Just to make sure I understood everything. So maybe I'll do that tonight. So.
It's really, really, really good.
Yeah.
Can't go wrong with that.
All right.
And let's see. We got some, sponsors, right?
Yes. CS Coffee.
CS Coffee is back. Our podcast is supported by CS Instant Coffee, makers of premium compostable coffee. It's straightforward and eco-friendly, perfect for anyone who loves the outdoors as much as we do. It's great for backpacking, day hiking, and camping. And here's a little bonus for our listeners. If you want a free sticker, just shoot them an email at info@csinstant.coffee. You can also find out more information at www.csinstant.coffee. And of course, you can get your free stickers at Ski Fanatics or Spinners off of Dascombe Road in Andover, Massachusetts. We will have some stickers this weekend, so be sure to stop by if you're at the AMC Awards. And if you're interested in some of the cool new SLASR swag, you can check out our online bonfire shop, which is accessible through our link off of Instagram. Or just go to Bonfire and type in SLASR, SLASR podcast, and it should pop right up. This week we do have a few coffee donations. For those of you who want to support the podcast, you can donate to us through Buy Me a Coffee, which is a really cool website. And we have one donation from Bob L., and that's a 5 coffee donation. So thank you, Bob. And that's what we got.
Okay, Stomp. And I think this is the part of the show where we do another advertiser. So we're going to talk about Vaucluse.
Yes, Vaucluse. Vaucluse. Let's get pronunciations correct. Vaucluse.
You can only ask so much.
Yeah, so does your backpack not provide enough ventilation? Does your bag sweat too much when backpacking? As you know, sweat can be extremely uncomfortable on the trails. Plus, sweat is a serious risk factor in both hot and cold climates. As your clothes get wet, your core temperature can dramatically fluctuate, and this can result in hypothermia, heat exhaustion, and dehydration. Let's not forget, it's just plain old very uncomfortable. Today's your lucky day, because we have good news for you. There's a piece of gear that solves the sweat and ventilation problem, making your backpack more comfortable. Vaucluse Gear's ultralight backpack ventilation frame. This ultralight frame is a backpack accessory that easily installs in your favorite pack, size 15 liters to 45 liters, and creates a ventilating airflow gap between you and your pack. It's also ultralight, weighing around 3 ounces, and that's basically a pair of socks. Whether hiking in hot or cold temps, the ultralight backpack ventilation frame from Vaucluse Gear is a real game changer regarding airflow and ventilation. So visit VaucluseGear.com to order an ultralight ventilation frame today. Use promo code SLASR to enjoy a $5 discount and let them know that Mike and Stomp sent you. And again, we'll have a bunch of these at the AMC Awards, so stop by the table and you can check them out.
Yeah, and I'll have them set up. I'm going to take me and my daughter Caroline's backpack, so I'll have them like set up so people can check it out and see how it fits on the packs. And then I did use mine this weekend when I went hiking on Moosilauke. I didn't take it to Europe, but I was soaked anyway because just the conditions, but my back stayed dry. Everything else was wet.
Shoes got wet?
Everything, Stomp. I'll get into it in a minute. But
yeah, okay.
First, we're going to talk about what beer we're drinking. You got any?
I got nothing. I got some kombucha. I am rolling in from Grotto. We had some pizza and some boom sauce a little while ago. So, yeah, I'm all good.
Okay.
I'm drinking a ginger lemon kombucha.
Oh, very nice. I am drinking a Clouded Judgment by Reckless. So, my last Reckless haul from when I finished the 4,000 footer winter list.
Awesome.
Yep.
How is it? Good?
It's good.
What is it, like an IPA?
Yeah, it's an IPA. Matter of fact, when I drank a lot of beer in Europe, and it was all Pilsner and like German beer stuff. You don't even like
lighter.
Yeah, but you don't even get into like, oh, let me look at the beer list or anything like that. You just tell them I'd like a beer, and they just bring it.
Is it warm?
No, it wasn't warm.
Oh yeah, because when I went to Germany, it was warm most of the time. It was pretty cool.
Yeah,
like,
my daughter...
They will not chill their beer.
Yeah, my middle daughter is going to be going to college in London next semester, and she's like, I'm going to Oktoberfest. I was like, oh, sounds like a terrible idea, but I'll have to warn her that, maybe she'll get... I don't know if she drinks beer. She drinks these young college kids. They bring these things called Borgs. Have you heard of a Borg?
No.
It's like blackout.
Only from Star Trek.
It's short for blackout... something, and they take these like milk jugs and they just fill it up with like juice and vodka and all kinds of nonsense. So I don't know, but I'll have to tell her she has to train.
And milk.
I'm like, don't show up to Oktoberfest without being able to pound some beer.
Wow, a Borg. I knew we should have gone left back there.
Stomp, don't worry. I know it's this way. I've got a feeling in my gut.
Are you sure you're not about to have a bowel emergency?
Totally. We got this.
But I just blew out my hip. Fell down that gully with my 40-year-old microspikes.
Suck it up, Stomp. It's 4 p.m. We're at 3,500 feet. We got 9 miles back to the parking lot. Your leg may be broken. We got no cell connection, and we can't feel our fingers. But we're finishing all of my list tonight. By the way, I need some water. I'm empty.
I would if I could see what I'm doing, but my headlamp batteries are dead.
You gotta be kidding me. What a chump. This is the last time I hike with you.
Whatever, mister. Do you know me? I have a podcast.
Whatever.
Let's find out what Mike and Stomp have been hiking.
Anyway, but this is the part of the show where we do recent hike, Stomp. So you had said you were going to hike. I was laughing because, so for the listeners, Stomp is like the king of vague like you never know what he's actually texting you. It's just like there's a lot that's left out to interpretation when you communicate with Stomp over text. So I invited him to come with us to hike.
Sunday?
The Moose, yeah. And then Stomp was like, I'm going to Webster with Mrs. Stomp. So I said to my friend Jake, I was like, yeah, Stomp isn't going to be able to come. He's hiking Webster. And he's like, he's going up the Webster Cliff. And I said, honestly, with Stomp, it could be Webster Slide. It could be Webster. It could be like some other Webster. I'm like, I don't know. I'm like, I bet you it's not the Webster we think it is.
And what did it end up being? It ended up being Welch Dickey.
Yeah, exactly. So you guys didn't even, I knew you weren't going to leave your house, basically.
No, but you'd be proud of me because I did my research and I said, hey, wait a minute, Mrs. Stomp. I think the Squams are closed for mud season. And we did our research, and sure enough, Webster, which is off of the Perch Pond side, which is more western to the Squams, you think that wouldn't be part of it, but yeah, it was closed. So we decided to just stay local.
But the Webster you're talking about, is that Webster Slide?
No, Mount Webster, which is the southern tip of the Squam Traverse. So it's south of Morgan and Percival, north of Cotton Mountain. So it's like sandwiched right south of Morgan Percival Loop.
But when you text me and you say, let me ask you this, so I'm curious. So you text me and you're like, I'm going to tell Mike that I'm going to Webster. Are you thinking like, Mike is going to know that I'm talking about the Webster and Squam? Or are you thinking like, he'll probably think I'm going to the Webster up by Crawford Notch? Or you don't it doesn't even enter your mind.
Oh, that's funny because I wasn't even thinking of Crawford, because I was thinking the one on Route 25, which is near, what the hell is it? It's near Moosilauke. It's on Route 25. Warren,
yeah, I know
Webster
that one
Slide.
too. Yeah, that we. But why wouldn't you just clarify that?
Oh my goodness, I'm just lazy when it comes to texting.
I guess, because I was like, I laughed. I was like, yeah, it's one of. I said
it could be anything.
It's very likely not the Webster that most of, like 99% of the hikers in the world would think. So,
I like to keep people guessing.
Oh my God, Stomp and you're texting. It's like Mr. Vague. Anyway, so you went up to Welch Dickey. Did you do the full loop, or did you just go up and down?
No, we just we had time to zip up to the Dickey ledges. Just a short, sweet thing just to get out, and we ended up seeing either a Black Hawk or one of the Coast Guard choppers. I could not tell the difference. It looked like a Black Hawk, but it had colorings like a Coast Guard ship. So I don't know if anybody has any insight as to what's going on there. Let me know. But that was really cool. So they were doing the reconnaissance loops, the maneuvers where they land on the northern ledges of Dickey, and they did it about a dozen times. They would land, they would launch again, and come through the call, and it was really cool to see that. So, yeah, long story short, so we did that together, and then this afternoon we did another hike for content hike, and Lad Mountain. You like the hike for content club?
Yeah. Where's that?
I've done Lad before. This is Mrs. Stomp's discovery, and it's from that beautiful site, the New Hampshire Family Hikes website that we've talked about before. So this is in Meredith, New Hampshire, off of Route 104, and you have to follow this road called Chemung Road, which takes you up to this beautiful. It's real simple. It's like it's a mile up, mile down, and it has a view of. It's a southerly view of Lake Winnisquam and Gunstock. And there's a picnic table there. There's a huge sprawling area where you could set tents up and a fire ring. It's super cool. So it was one of those like last minute things we did just before the podcast today. And it was great.
Yeah, super it looks pretty. I'm looking at the pictures here. It looks like really nice.
It's beautiful.
No snow?
Zero. Zero snow. Nothing. No ice, nothing. It was just a little damp on some of the scrambles, but there's nothing here. And to be honest with you, there was absolutely zero going up to the ledges of Dickey. Nothing.
Huh.
It's gone.
What's the elevation at the ledges of Dickey? Like 3,000?
I would think that's like 23 to 25.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
So Dickey itself is what, 33? I want to say 33.
Yeah.
And then Welch is like 100 less. So yeah, it's all clear. It's up there though, for sure, in the call in certain areas.
Yeah. So I went. I met with Jake and Peter on Sunday, and we hiked Moosilauke. So Peter is doing redlining, so he needed to get Benton Trail. So they spotted their car. They spotted a car at Tunnel Brook. I think it's Tunnel Brook. There's like a road there. So, and then they drove one car back over to Beaverbrook, and then I met them, and then we went up Beaverbrook, and then probably like I think we started off in Spikes. So that side of the mountain had snow pretty much from the beginning, and we were micro spikes up until I'd say maybe about 2,500, 3,000 feet. And then we switched over to snowshoes, and we weren't really sinking in or anything. But then when we got up to the shelter and then we cleared like 4,000 feet, there was like so much snow. I was shocked. The snow was up to the blazes. And then the signs were like almost covered up.
Wild.
Yeah. So it was very weird. Like once you got over 4,000 feet, it was, and the problem that we ran into was that it was a warm day, but because we were up so high, we were like knocking into the branches, and the branches were all wet. So we were getting wet, like badly.
Yeah.
And then I screwed up. Like you get the shame drop here, Stomp, because I went off trail.
Oh, jeez. Yeah, it happens easy.
Our original plan, we were gonna bushwhack up to Mount Blue to grab that.
Okay.
But that section of Beaverbrook, as you circle around Mount Blue, it's like a side hill for like a long distance. And it was like so much snow built up that we were knocking all the water off of the branches, and then we were side hilling it, and it was just miserable.
Oh yeah,
and
that's wild.
Unfortunately, like I missed the right-hand turn to go up Beaverbrook, and I kept going on that abandoned trail. There's an abandoned trail that looks like a trail, and I just kept side hilling. And poor Jake and Peter followed me. Peter's 6'5", so like it was easy for me and Jake to kind of duck under everything. Like poor Peter's like he can't duck under anything. He's just going right through these branches. It was miserable. And then we finally realized we were off trail, and we were like, all right, well, let's just whack up to Beaverbrook. It sucked because it was like a half a mile, and it was like probably, I don't know, like 400, 500 feet of elevation gain. But the problem was that we bushwhacking in like melting, wet, gross conditions. But the problem was that it was, the reason we kept going is that every time we would break through a tough section, there'd be like open forest. So I was kind of like, all right, well, it's open forest. I can see
siren song.
Yeah, you must know this bushwhacking, like, because I don't have a lot of experience. And I'm like, all right, it's open. I can see like it's open pretty much. And we maneuvered through. So there was a bunch of section where it was like open forest that you could work your way through. But unfortunately, the open forest kept pushing us at the same elevation that we were at, and we needed to go to the right, and it kept pushing us to the left.
Yeah. So you weren't working with GPS, right? Just
eventually, I did start breaking out the GPS, and I could see like, okay, we need to keep going to the right, and I would go as hard right as I could.
But vegetation was getting in the way.
Vegetation was pushing us away, and like we're getting soaked. I mean, we were soaked. I mean, I had my shell on, but I had my soft shell pants on. They were soaked. You know, it's like 35, 40 degrees, so it was okay. Like I wasn't too worried about it, but eventually we did find like enough open forest, but there was a few sections where we had to really bust through.
Oh yeah.
Some scrub.
Scary.
But I just felt
Scary
bad
stuff.
for Peter because he's like there was so many things that me and Jay could like duck under that he couldn't do that.
Yeah. It's reminiscent of that recent car trip I did. So the snow is, so the Beaver Brook is more on the northern side, so there'll be more of that snow up on that side. Same thing with the northern side of the car.
Yeah.
I lost trail, and it got to the point where like, nah, the northern sides are always just wild.
Yeah, it was a good experience. I mean, it wasn't too bad, but eventually we broke out. We broke out into the weather station. So people probably aren't aware of this, but there's a weather station like right off of Beaver Brook Trail. So it's a huge clearing, and then you go over the other side. There's another big clearing there, so which is pretty good. I was like, oh, there's stealth camping here. This isn't bad to know about. And the other thing is it's wide open, so you get these really good views the whole way, which was cool. We kept looking back, and we were like, oh, we got views the whole time. Then we got up top. The wind was whipping, but like not so bad, but it dried my pants right off, so it was okay. And then we headed down, we came back down, we went down the Benton Trail, and again, same issue, above 4,000 feet, the snow was so heavy that we were like ducking under all the branches because we were like up way high, and nobody goes on that trail. Like I bet you probably people hadn't gone on that trail in weeks.
Yeah.
And then by the time we got, that's more of a, I don't know what direction it's facing more, maybe to the south or the east, but we get to 3,000 feet and there's no snow whatsoever. So it's just weird. So we were able to just get
crazy
down.
Time.
And then the final, we had to cross Tunnel Brook, and that was dicey. So that was running hot. And then we had to go upriver a little bit and then cross, we were up to our gaiters, crossing the river.
Yeah.
But it was
Crazy
fun.
trip,
It was a
man.
good day. It was fun. We had a good time. We were laughing. Nobody was unhappy about it. It was just, we just weren't thinking. So it happens to, it can happen to anybody.
Oh, sure. So how are the Cascade sections of Beaver Brook? I've yet to do that trail. I've been on it for like a rescue, but
It's fine. It's
not
steep.
too bad.
Yeah. It's steep, and there's a couple of sections that are no slip zones where you'll go into that drainage if you're not paying attention. But it was okay. None of the rebar, none of the wooden blocks are showing yet. It's all covered up by snow.
Wow.
Yeah, it's definitely a steep trail. And the thing, too, about that trail is the distance between the Beaver Brook Shelter and the Moosilauke Summit is like really long. For some reason, I had in my head it's like right there, but it's a long hike to go around Mount Blue and then the rest of that. So,
And this was what day?
this was on Sunday.
Okay, I'm trying to think of when we had that massive rainstorm. That was before that.
Yeah, I wasn't in
By
town.
a day or two.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had a ton of rain up here that wiped out everything. Well,
Yeah, it was definitely, the drainage was running hot for sure.
yeah.
But yeah, it was an adventure.
Yeah, good for you. That's great. This is a beautiful mountain.
Yeah, it's good. I think that's probably my 10th time or so on Moosilauke. So,
Yeah.
all right, Stomp. So time to do another sponsor here. 48 Peaks.
48 Peaks Alzheimer's. Use your passion for hiking to help end Alzheimer's. In one collective effort, 400 plus hikers will climb New Hampshire's 4,000 footers or create their own challenge to support the mission of the Alzheimer's Association. The annual hiker celebration will take place Saturday, June 8th at Reckless Brewing Company with raffles, food, and an amazing community. Hike that weekend or any day you want. No fundraising minimums required, but those who raise $100 or more will receive this year's performance grade purple t-shirt. Let's turn the White Mountains purple to end Alzheimer's. Visit alts.org/48 peaks to learn more. That's alz.org/48 peaks.
It's time for Slasher's Notable Hike of the Week. If you want to be considered for the Hike of the Week, simply tag Slasher on your social media post.
Very good, Stomp. So this is the part of the show where we do notable listener hikes of the week.
All right. Yes, if you want to be considered for the weekly notable listener hike of the week, tag Slasher on Instagram and we will consider you. So we have a bunch this week. So we have Liz Fay. She's out west. Tagged us a bunch. She's done Mount Misery, Towns Mountain, Zion National Park, Scouts Landing and Riverside Walk, and then finally Bryce Canyon, which I think we've covered recently for a search and rescue story. Beautiful pictures. Gingerbeard Keen tagged us for McAfee Knob. I guess he's out on the AT doing a few things.
Yep.
And Tinker Cliffs.
Jeez, I want Liz and Gingerbeard's lives. They have the best lives.
You think?
Yeah.
Let's see. Kim K, 10,000?
Yes.
Did Cabot for the Eclipse. Very cool. That's very cool. Tracy Morgan tagged us for the Wildcats, and they were joined with our favorite Littlefoot.
Oh boy, that alliance, that could be trouble. Was Captain Chris
totally.
with them?
Yeah, I believe so, yeah.
Oh boy,
I believe so.
What a combination.
Yeah, exactly. Let's see, Coco Gorm, Tinker Cliffs in Virginia. Empath Hiker tagged us for Fliberty, a.k.a. Liberty and Flume. And let's see, with John gritting out both and Chase getting 43 and 44 out of the New Hampshire 48. Nice work.
Okay.
Hiking Feeds My Soul did Hale, Mount Hale, off of, what is that? What road is that? Sawyer? No, that's not Sawyer, is it? No, Zealand.
Zealand,
sorry. All right. Brady Girl 1 did This Is Smart, Georgiana Falls and the Flume Gorge during the high water time. So epic stuff. Those are the places you want to go when you've had a big rain. Georgiana, Harvard Falls, the Flume, all these small little modest hikes, but they're just incredible to see the waterfalls. Let's see, That Friggin' Hiker hiked Wambeck for the New Hampshire 48 and Star King for the 52 of the View. Meg Z 0682 hiked Hedgehog Mountain via the UNH Trail. This is a cool hike here, Mike. Lau _Sampson hiked the Belknap Range for the Patch for her 35th birthday, covering 22 miles and 6,000 feet elevation.
That's a lot.
So that's a lot.
That's
it sure
the thing
is.
about
That's
the Belknaps.
pretty epic.
It's the ultimate PUD area. It's like pointless up and down constantly.
No doubt about it. So that's super cool. Photo hiking Paul, 4,000 for 4K training at the Wachusett Dam in Clinton, Mass. Let's see, our Jakester did some deep post holing on Moosilauke.
He was with me.
Was this a separate trip?
He was with me.
Oh, he was. Oh, he was very coy about tagging you and posting pictures about you.
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't know if we were post-holing that badly.
Huh.
He's supposed to downplay it that we went off trail and got lost.
He calls it deep post-holing.
All right, well, I don't know. We did some deep, but we had snowshoes. We were okay.
Okay. All right, now we have Nick hikes and plays guitar. Hiked Tecumseh and Snows Mountain, and then Mike Latavia did Mount Watatic and made a parenthesis saying it's a glacial anomaly, which I thought was pretty cool.
That would be an awesome name for a rock band, by the way.
What, Watatic or glacial anomaly? Right, okay. Yeah, it would be good. Now, that Watatic, where the heck is that? It's south of Monadnock?
I think so. It's in that area.
Okay. All right. So we have two more here. So Duchess 3663 did Mount Wachusett. First hike in 9 months due to Achilles tendonitis. So nice work, Duchess. Keep it up. Go easy. Don't push it too hard and stretch those calves. That's all you got to do. And ice it if it's sore. And then finally, Xbox, a.k.a. Boreal Badass, a.k.a. Real Badass, beat me to the punch.
You've been talking about this, so he answered your question.
He stole my thunder. Yeah, he did,
Yeah.
which is all good. I'm super impressed because this is a hard time of the year for this trail. So he did Mount Cardigan via the infamous Holt Trail.
Okay. All right. So
and
no excuse now, Stomp.
Oh yeah, it should only be easier now with less snow.
Yeah. All right.
But the pictures are gnarly. So what do you think? What you got cooking?
Let me see. Oh, first of all, I think that it's Watatic. Watatic, I think. Anyway, let me see here. So Liz she's gotten some love before. Mike Keen, Gingerbeard, McAtee Knob.
Samson.
That's good. So Empath cool. Hiker, let us know when Chase gets to 48, and we'll give it to you. I think the Cardigan via Holt, so Boreal Badass gets it.
Are you sure? What about the Belknap?
Oh, the Belknap. Yeah, it was.
That's a bruiser.
It's her birthday too. All right, happy birthday, Lau Samson. You get it. So,
yeah, there you go.
All right. Well, Xbox.
Sorry, kid.
You just screwed Xbox over. So.
Sorry, Xbox.
All right. So
if you had slid down the whole trail and survived, then maybe. But
yeah.
I don't know.
Okay, so congratulations, Lau Samson. All right, Stomp. So moving on to the segment of the week, we're going to talk a little bit about hiking in Europe and the trip to Europe. So are you ready?
Awesome. Let's do it.
SLASR's hiking topic of the week.
So you've done some backpacking in Europe before.
Just lower hills, nothing major. Nothing major. I was in Austria, certain parts of Italy, but nothing too high up in the elevation. I had different goals in mind at the time.
Yeah. Drinking and more drinking.
You're right.
All right. So this is so I hiked in Slovakia. So I think this is definitely an interesting trip for people if you're looking to get to a part of the world that probably isn't as traveled by Americans as other areas of Europe would be. So I started off, I had a work trip. So I was in Poland. I stayed in Krakow. And so I flew in from Boston to Munich and then Munich to Krakow. And then I stayed at a hotel near the main square in Krakow. So Krakow's it's an ancient city. I think in the 1200s, it basically got sacked by the Mongols. It's like that type of old city, Stomp.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, ancient history.
Ancient. So this main square that I was at is essentially it's their version of Faneuil Hall, but it's a medieval town square. It's basically a perfect square, and then there's 3 perpendicular roads in each side of the square, and all of those roads are these narrow roads where people live in townhouses and apartments, but there's also a bunch of shops and artist locations and stuff. So it's an amazing place. Tons of outdoor restaurants. There's large churches, towers. All these side streets have shops and retail. So, after work, I would just sort of walk around down there. We'd get something to eat. There's all kinds of international food there, so you get anything you want. A lot of burgers in Krakow, I noticed.
Okay. Burgermeisters?
Yeah, Meister Burger. And then I did get a chance. I went into the Kazimir, I think they call it. So this is the Krakow Jewish Quarter, which is a really interesting place. So we're the main square in Krakow is very wide and open. And then the Jewish Quarter is very sort of narrow streets and more artists and artisans and things like that. And the streets aren't, they're winding. So it's just a different vibe in the Jewish Quarter. So we ate there. Before World War II, there was 60,000 Jews that were living in this Jewish area of Krakow. Unfortunately, during World War II, most of them were killed. There was a number of survivors, maybe a couple thousand survivors, and the people that survived in Krakow were primarily the only remaining people after the war were the ones that were saved by Oskar Schindler of Schindler's List. So I was in that area of where Schindler's List happened, which I thought was like amazing and, crazy to think about the history there.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Incredible.
So they have a lot of modern things there in Krakow too. Like they had this Galleria Mall, which is like this huge mall. It's like take the Burlington Mall and times it by 3. And it's like this huge store, and it's got like electronic stores, it got grocery stores, all kinds of stuff in there. So definitely like Krakow, you could spend a couple days just exploring the city, and it's just a beautiful area. And the weather was perfect. It was like 80 degrees the days I was there.
Yeah, yeah.
So, but
we all thought you were in a crack house.
No, Krakow.
Right.
Yeah, not a crack house, Krakow. But then I worked every day, so it wasn't like I was partying too much or anything, but we did, we went out to dinner at night and stuff. But I took so we were done on Wednesday. I booked a separate trip to Slovakia, so I got a driver from my hotel that drove me down about 2 hours to the Tatra Mountains. So the Tatra Mountains are a series of mountains within the Western Carpathians that form a natural border between Slovakia and Poland. And they're the highest mountains in the Carpathians, and they're distinct. So there's the high Tatras that I was in, and then there's also the low Tatras, which are a separate Slovak mountain range further to the south. So these mountains will look similar to the Alps, but they have a lower elevation. Typically the summits, the peaks are like 6,000 to about 8,500 feet. And they're newer mountain ranges, so they'd have that jagged look to them, Stomp. The newer ones tend to be more jagged, like out on the West Coast.
Yeah.
So, I had to pick a guide. So that was the tricky part, is deciding what guide to go with, and then whether or not I wanted to go into Poland or Slovakia. So I ended up just getting this guide that I found online that was, well rated. And then I coordinated through this Explore Share interface where he had proposed a hike up to this hut called the Terry Hut. And he seemed like a nice guy, spoke English, and, I booked him for the trip. And then we just exchanged information. So I just sort of emailed him back and forth. He was like, you have to arrange your own ride. So I got a ride from the hotel. They had a driver there, so I was able to just pay him to take me down there. And I met my guide, Peter, in this small Slovakian town called Stary Smokovic, which is, it's like right out of a Disney film. It's small little like, so first there was a big grand hotel there. Then there was these like small little coffee shops. There was these like little windmill type buildings and little churches and stuff. Like it literally looked like a Disney film set. Which was cool. So it's a resort town, so there's skiing there. So there is like ski lifts and things like that you can do in the winter. But it was like it was a Thursday, and it was super quiet. So met my guide. I got out of my car, hopped in his car. We drove up to this other road to the beginning of the hike. So essentially where we were going was into what's called the Small Cold Valley, which I think the hike started at like about 3,500 feet and went up to like 6,500 feet of elevation. So it was about 3,000 feet of gain. And the day we went, it was like maybe 60 degrees out. So started the hike off basically in a long sleeve shirt, and I had to take it off, just go with a t-shirt. And we started, there's nothing like it that I can't compare it to anything in the whites, because there's nothing like it. But essentially like you start off in this open forest, and you go down a little bit, you actually descend a little bit into the forest, and they've got like this beetle problem with the trees. So there's a bunch of trees that are like knocked over, like they had like a tornado and a blowdown storm that knocked a ton of these trees down in the lower valley where the drainage comes in. So you can see pretty far out, and then you go over this bridge, and then you see this waterfall. and then you start climbing, and then you get basically in the trees at that point, and you're in the trees for maybe like a mile or so, and then you get to this hut. So you've hiked maybe about 2 miles in, and you get to a hut, which has like, it's a big hut, and it has like playground equipment for kids. It's got a bathroom, and you can go inside and get food. You can get beer. You can get like all kinds of hard alcohol, whatever you want. So you could just do a day walk to that hut and hang out. There's picnic tables or whatever. So I think a lot of the locals would just go to that point and just chill out and have a day. I mean, you could literally...
Sounds great.
Yeah, I mean, you could, it's like going to a restaurant. You could eat there and just go back home. So it was beautiful. So we stopped there. I actually had like long pants under my pants because I was like afraid it was going to be cold, but I was sweating. So I took those off, and I was just in t-shirts and my hiking pants. And I wore hiking boots as well because there was still a lot of snow on the ground. But the guy Peter, he was telling me a little bit about himself. So he's a professional search and rescue team member. So full-time search and rescue in Slovakia. He's on like work shifts waiting to rescue. And then he's a mountain guide. And then he also was involved in mountaineering skiing. So that's basically like uphill races and then skiing back down. So he was a professional skier, I guess, in his younger days. He's like mid-40s. Mm-hmm. So he was an interesting guy. So I was telling him a little bit about the podcast, telling him a little bit about, he was asking about search and rescue. I was like, I'm not on search and rescue, but I know a little bit about it. So we were just comparing notes. And I was asking him about snow. I'm like, does anybody ever wear snowshoes? And he's like, no, we only use skis to break trail.
Okay.
Which I thought was interesting.
Uphill.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
He's like, we almost never use snowshoes. So I thought that was pretty cool. So then when we left the first hut, and then, it's pretty gradual climb up. And then when you enter the valley, like it just all of a sudden, it just opens up, and it's this wide expanse of like a perfect bowl of just mountains and summits around. And then you're just basically climbing up into that valley until you could see the hut on the very top of the valley floor. Mm-hmm. So you could see where you're going the whole way. And there was like this giant waterfall right below the hut that you could hear from a distance, but it was like just me and Peter, and there's a couple of other people that came by, but for the most part, like there was very few people out there hiking. And eventually we got up to like an open snowfield. So essentially it was like, it would have been like crossing the Jefferson snowfields or the Star Lake snowfields, but like times it by like a half a mile. So you're going like a half mile, 3/4 of a mile across open area. But if you slipped, like it wouldn't be good, but like you'd be able to rest yourself pretty well with just your hands if you needed to.
Yeah. So what time of the year is this? I mean, basically early spring?
Yeah, it's early spring for them. It's the same sort of conditions as us. So a lot of snow on the ground, but it was melting.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, so you enter the snowfields, and then once you get past the snowfields, the final climb is like 800 feet straight up over about a half a mile. So then you're going like basically straight up. And by that time I had switched over to microspikes, and we just climbed our way up and saw a couple of other people heading up. We saw some skiers coming down as well. And then we got up to Terry Hut. And normally you can stop there and then head up through the passes to get to other valleys. But because the snow was it was still a lot of snow, it's not safe to go through the passes yet. But Peter was telling me, he's like, in the summer, you can basically like stay at this hut and then wake up the next morning and go over the passes. You climb up another like 1,500 feet and go down to another valley and stay at a hut there. And you can jump from like valley to valley.
Whole different ball game out there.
Yeah, exactly. Super cool. But then, we got to the hut and the workers are there. That's the other thing is as you're climbing up, you'll see these workers. The same with the AMC, they had the backboards, but these backboards are like way more stuff than you see with the AMC kids carrying.
Mm.
So it was crazy. I don't know if you saw, I posted a picture.
Heavy weight.
Yeah, he said like 60 kilograms, so that's like 130 pounds.
In all those boxes?
Yeah. He said around 130 pounds.
That's a lot.
A ton.
Yeah. I mean, that's double of, say, a 70-pound search and rescue pack.
Mm-hmm. And I guess they have an annual race every year with the couriers or the porters that they'll like race up to this hut that we went to and see who can get there the fastest.
Incredible.
Yeah, which is crazy. But then I got to the hut. We had this cabbage soup, and we had a beer. You know, again, they don't ask you what you want for beer; they just give you a beer, which is good. And then
we know about IPA yet.
Yeah, you don't even ask. Like, you know, you just like, oh, give me a beer, it's fine. And so we hung out there. We had soup. He got a call from like another group that he was organizing. He's like, usually he's organizing like trips with like 10 people or whatever. So I think he was pretty happy to just have me. And he did like stroke my ego a little bit. He was like, oh, you know, you seem to like be able to walk like on these trails pretty well. He's like, so a lot of times I get people that don't really have good footing and it's tough for them. And I was like, yeah, like we have pretty difficult trails where I live.
Highest winds in the world.
Yeah, I was like, oh, the White Mountains, you know, Mount Washington. He's like, yeah, okay, never heard of it. So, but he was so nice, such a great guy. And you know, the thing about him is like he took a ton of pictures, which I appreciated. And we talked a lot about search and rescue. We talked a lot about like, so he's an international guide. So if you wanted to hire him to go to the Pyrenees or the Dolomites or whatever, he'll meet you there and guide. So he's like a real professional guy. And then we was headed back down. You know, it was about a 12-mile round trip hike, and it was 5 hours, 6 hours. We headed back down. We stopped at the other hut and had another beer, and then I headed down to Stary Smokovic, said goodbye to Peter, and had myself an espresso and a chocolate cake in the village. And then my driver came and we headed back to Krakow.
Wow.
Which is
a
cool.
Great time.
Yeah, it was amazing. And I didn't feel like unsafe at all. Slovakia is a very safe country. There's nobody at the border, so you just drive right over. Mm-hmm. So no issue with that. And I think, like I was saying to Peter, I was like, I think that I could spend like a lifetime here and still not see everything. And he's like, oh yeah. He's like, I still see new things around here. So the scale of this place is huge.
That's amazing. Yeah, I love Europe.
Yeah, it's amazing. And then he was saying it's a national park, so there's no tenting, no backpacking, no fishing. There is no camping anywhere, no swimming in the water. Everything's restricted. You can stay on the hiking trails, you can do backcountry skiing, but that's it.
Pretty tight.
Yeah. He said that there's like other areas where you can do backpacking, but that if you're going to do like through hiking in that area, you've got to go hut to hut, and that in the summertime, it can be difficult to get reservations. Mm. And he said that I was like the first American that he had in like a year. So there's not a lot of Americans that go out there. He said he gets a lot of like tourists from China, India, other different areas. But I think that if you're looking for an interesting place to go, I would definitely check out the Tatra Mountains in Slovakia. And I'll link some information about the places that I stayed and the hike that I did so that people can check it out. And I'll also include the link to my guide in case anybody wants to check out his background, because he's fantastic.
What was the elevation again? How high did you go up?
I think I went up to about 6,600 feet, maybe 6,500.
And you had how much higher to go to like summit? Just
I think those peaks that were above us were like anywhere from about 7,500 to about 8,500.
Okay.
I think so. Yeah. I mean, not when you get up to the hut and you're like, yeah, this isn't that bad of a climb, but they're very steep. And it's not safe to go through them with the snow the way it is right now. Mm-hmm. So, and we were like, I only had them for so long, so I didn't want to extend it that much. We did see like some wildlife. There was these things called chamois, which are like these mountain goats, and they were chilling out. It was like a mother and a father and a baby goat
Yeah, I think you might have posted a video about that.
Yeah, it was fun. So we'll get you out there, cool. Stomp, someday.
Yeah, someday. I can't say I've seen those mountains, just once in my life, and they're amazing.
Yeah. So
specifically in Austria, it's just there's nothing like it out there.
It's incredible. Amazing. Yeah, it's incredible. Yeah. So yeah, I've been lucky. I mean, Yosemite in last fall. I got to Slovakia. I've been to Iceland. Been Seattle, Portland area, Arizona. So yeah, I got a lot more plans. But I think for me, I'm getting to the point in my life where I definitely want to invest more money in travel and experiences than I care about like stuff.
Yeah, what kind of stuff?
Anything. Like
just material stuff.
Yeah, material stuff. I'd rather do traveling at this point.
Yeah. I get so nervous about traveling though these days.
True. Yeah. I mean, you do get nervous. Like, okay, if something crazy goes down, am I going to get stuck here, or like, am I going to get separated? But
yeah,
what are you going to do?
Yeah. Yep. That's right.
Let's dive into some White Mountains history, shall we?
All right, Stomp. So moving on to our next segment here, you want to talk about historical markers.
Yeah, we've talked about this before, and it's a neat topic. Reason I bring it up again, I've come across a couple new ones that I want to mention. But for those that don't know, New Hampshire has a program, and it's the New Hampshire Historical Highway Marker Program, and it's quote-unquote, the New Hampshire Historical Highway Markers illustrate the depth and complexity of the state history and the people who made it, from Abenaki Native Americans to poets, painters, and contemporary sports figures, from meeting houses to stone arch bridges and long-lost villages, and from factories to cemeteries, and et cetera, et cetera. So there are currently, according to the list, which is available online, and we will provide the list here for you, there are 291 historical highway markers in the state, and they range from county to county. It's amazing. There are lists available for you to look up the location by county or the topic and all kinds of things. It's really neat. I ran across a couple in my journeys over to the western side of the state that I just wanted to mention. There's one that's really cool, and it's called Wildwood. And this is on the western side of the Kangamangas. And it's essentially resting at the base of Moosilauke when you're driving by it. And it's beautiful. So apparently in this area of Easton, New Hampshire, it was a settlement called Wildwood. And at the turn of the 20th century, it was the center of slash and run logging at Mount Moosilauke. There was a village with a school, a post office, several sawmills, a boarding house, and homes. West of there was a dam used in the spring drives that moved logs down the Ammonoosuc River from the mountains to southern New England. I mean, it's incredible. When you're driving on the Kank and you see the sign as you're heading from, say, North Haverhill, New Hampshire to Lost River, and you're looking to the right, you can see Moosilauke, and you can see this entire wilderness that's in there. It's amazing. And apparently, from what I understand, it connects to Tunnel Brook.
That's exactly where we park, Stomp. So I saw this sign on Sunday when I left. So yeah,
for Wildwood?
Exactly. So if you take you'll see the Wildwood sign off of the Kank, and then you just take that left into that road, and that's where the road's gated right now. So you can't get all the way up to Tunnel Brook. It's about a mile walk right now, what we had to do.
Okay. So that's where you parked.
But that's where we parked. And
see?
And then when the gate opens up, you can actually get out right to Tunnel Brook Trailhead. But yeah, that whole area
pretty
there,
cool area.
Like Tunnel Brook in that area was running so fast. So I can imagine like all the logging connects into the other main rivers that they must have been going crazy with the logging out there back then.
Beautiful. Yeah, it's a beautiful area. It's massive. There's a second one that I discovered on Route 25 south, heading south through Warren, and it took me 3 or 4 passes to stop and actually finally read it. And it says Sarah and the Bear, And this is a really neat one. So Sarah and the Bear refers to a New Hampshire legend from 1783 involving a young girl named Sarah Witcher. Sarah got lost in the woods near Warren, New Hampshire, and was protected by a black bear until her rescue, as the story goes. The story has been retold in books such as, quote, The Bear That Heard Crying by Natalie Kinsey Warnock and, quote, Sarah Witcher's Story by Elizabeth Yates. The legend is also commemorated with the historical marker. And that marker is number 275. Amazing, isn't it?
Yeah. And I've seen that one before. I think we've covered that one before, so it's an interesting story.
Yeah. Check this out. One last one here, like just randomly on the list. Number 289 is a marker in Dover, and it is the creation of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles in Central Ave across from Union Street.
Really? The Ninja Turtles in New Hampshire?
That's what it says. So take a look through the list. There's 30 pages of markers that you can look through. They're incredible. There's so much history in this state. It's wild.
Yeah, it is so interesting. And there is
cool.
one other one over to the west of Wildwood. There's another one that's called Pike Tract, which is the first piece of land that was purchased. It was like 7,000 acres of timber-covered mountain slopes, cliffs, and streams and farmlands from a businessman from Haverhill, New Hampshire, named Bertram Pike. And that was in like 1914. So the purchase was the first acquisition towards the establishment of the White Mountain National Forest in 1918. So like the Weeks Act came in like the early 1910s, and then they started moving pretty quickly. They bought this piece of land, and then they were able to establish the National Forest like 4 years later. So it started with 7,000 acres, and then finally they've got about 800,000 acres now.
Wow.
So it all began way out west over by Haverhill.
Yeah. Doesn't surprise me.
Yep.
It's a really cool part of the state.
Yeah, it is. All right, stop. So now we're going to move on to some recent search and rescue news. So I pulled this article here. This is interesting. I think this is one we got to keep an eye on. My radar always goes up whenever a husband and a wife are hiking, and the husband and the wife randomly falls off a cliff. Yeah,
right.
So this is one. Matter of fact, I've hiked in this area. So this is out of Sedona in Arizona. So Zainab Joseph, 40 years old, died on Monday after a group of hikers found her during their trek along Bear Mountain in Sedona. So I actually didn't hike Bear Mountain just because it was a little bit too far, but Bear Mountain is like kind of close to what's called the Devil's Bridge, which is a pretty famous hike out there. But it's a little bit of a longer hike. I'm sort of curious that this couple they were with a 1-year-old kid, and they chose to do Bear Mountain. It's a little bit of a advanced hike, and there's not a lot of like shade or coverage there. So anyway, so Zainab had fallen down a cliff when the hikers heard yelling and subsequently discovered her alive with serious injuries. Person called 911. Like, why would the person call 911 and the husband wouldn't call 911? Anyway, another person walked down the embankment and confirmed that she was still breathing. She died soon after, the sheriff's office said, noting that Sedona fire officials pronounced her dead as they were the first responding unit to arrive at the scene. She was apparently hiking with her husband and 1-year-old child. The three had traveled from California to Sedona, where they rented an Airbnb. The husband and child were airlifted from the mountain as authorities worked to recover the body. The sheriff did not say anyone else was hurt, and the circumstances around her death and exactly what caused it are under investigation. So I think if it was like an obvious slip, they would have basically covered the husband, but I think that the officers are conducting interviews with the hikers leaving Bear Mountain in the wake of the death and asked anyone who may have witnessed the incident to contact the sheriff. So,
a little fishy.
Sounds a little sketchy.
Yeah, a little bit.
My default, I'm always like suspicious.
Yeah, but they found her alive.
Yeah, and then she died.
Just breathing, but
right
barely conscious or able to speak or what?
Yeah, I don't know. So, all right.
That's sad.
Oh, stop. What is this? What is this article?
What is this?
Two hikers. Where is this?
I had to do it because we never get search and rescues from the Emirate.
Oh, that's what this is? The UAE?
Yeah.
The Emirates.
It's a very unusual story. But you may be balking at the way I posted it, but that's exactly what the article says. Two Asians.
Yeah, no, I just couldn't.
So it's very
I just
specific.
Didn't know where it was.
Yeah, it's unusual. But apparently there's been a search and rescue in the Emirates. But they're very specific. So it's two Asians were stuck in a mountainous area in the Emirate at an altitude of 4,500 feet. And they were stuck in a mountainous area. One had a broken leg, and a wing section of the Emirate had to conduct a mission to rescue them. So it's pretty interesting. You don't hear too much out of this area.
Yeah, I don't really know anything about it, but yeah, it's weird.
Interesting, right?
Yeah, they're definitely not politically correct in their newspapers here, but whatever.
Oh, exactly. Yeah. I just pulled it right the way it was written. I'm like, oh, that's an interesting headline.
Stomp, you're trying to get me canceled.
Right.
What the heck?
Hey, it's important. We got to know what nationality and ethnicity they were.
I guess. All right, moving on to a local story here. So this is I don't know what's going on around Mount Cube. I feel like the mountain gods have cursed Mount Cube over the last year and a half or so.
Busy spot.
Busy spot for sure. So just after 3 p.m. or maybe it's just like, I feel like the people that get in trouble on Mount Cube are more locals. So maybe it's just New Hampshire people can't hike.
Ooh. Now we'll get canceled.
Now we're going to get canceled. All right. So after 3 p.m. on Thursday, April 11th, conservation officers from Fish and Game were made aware of an injured hiker on the summit of Mount Cube. So this is a 56-year-old female. All right. So it's just a slip and fall. So it's not her fault. So it's just stuff happens type of situation. So 56-year-old female had fallen on slippery, wet rocks and had sustained an upper leg injury, which prevented her from being able to continue. The rescuers from Upper Valley Wilderness Response Team, Warford Fire, Wentworth Fire, they roll out, like I noticed too, like this is like the area of the Whites where they roll out all the local fire departments. So there's like 6 different local fire departments, including some from Vermont. The first rescuers, so 3 p.m. the call came in. First rescuers got there by 5. She was about 2.2 miles from the trailhead on the Cross Rivendale Trail. So Cross Rivendale, you're basically coming in from the northwest that way. The injured hiker was from Merrimack, New Hampshire. Due to the nature of the injuries, they packaged her in a rescue litter with a carryout commencing shortly after 6. So 3 o'clock call, 5 o'clock arrival. It takes about an hour to get her set up. Is that normal stuff? Does it usually take like an hour to get somebody settled into the litter and everything?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep.
So you got to basically splint up the injury and make sure that they're comfortable and warm and hydrated.
Depends on the severity of the injury.
Yeah.
But once people arrive, I mean, that arrival time is a whole other metric. So once we arrive and the litter arrives and we're able to actually move somebody, that can be 30 minutes to an hour, easy.
Yeah. Well,
yep.
It sounds like this was a brutal one because once they got her packaged up, about half of that 2.2 miles out was snow and ice covered with deep snow in some areas. So they were post-holing through much of the higher elevations. And eventually
Super
they
tough.
made it to the trailhead at 7:45, and the victim was transported to Dartmouth Hitchcock Medical Center for assessment and treatment of her injuries. Fish and Game gives the victim a big shout out. She was well prepared for a winter day hike and was wearing microspike traction devices. So, bravo to her.
Yeah, no doubt.
So hopefully she's recovering.
Where does this event fall into your data?
This would be a lower leg. I mean, it's an upper leg, but I would just call this like a lower leg injury that is, what do I call it?
Well, what about gender? Wasn't there a difference between the genders?
No, I mean, I think the gender differences for search and rescue is essentially like older women tend to have like more lower leg injury stuff, and then younger men tend to have more like reckless activities. But this would be like a non-negligent or no negligence, slip and fall type of lower leg injury. So yeah. So I mean, it's tough. Like I look for patterns on things, and there are a few patterns, but it's just over time, like you just sort of like all these lower leg injuries, like they can happen to anybody. I've seen them, young people, old people, men, women, doesn't matter.
Got it.
So that is it for our show, Stomp, tonight.
We made it.
Sorry I wasn't as funny as Dave Shits in the Woods, but I'll try next time.
Nor I.
Yeah.
I think you and I should just hand the torch to Dave.
Yeah. No, he's great. He's great. So we'll get him back on. But we will see you at the AMC Awards on Saturday night, and then we will see you next Friday.
All right. Till then.
Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed the show, you can subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Podbean, YouTube, or wherever you listen to podcasts. If you want to learn more about the topics covered in today's show, please check out the show notes and safety information at SLASRPodcast.com. That's SLASR podcast.com. You can also follow the show on Facebook and Instagram. We hope you'll join us next week for another great show. Until then, on behalf of Mike and Stomp, get out there and crush some mega peaks.
Now covered in scratches, blisters, and bug bites, Chris Staff wanted to complete his most challenging day hike ever.
Fish and Game officers say the hiker from Florida activated an emergency beacon yesterday morning. He was hiking along the Appalachian Trail when the weather started to get worse. Officials say the snow was piled up to 3 feet in some spots, and there was a wind chill of -1 degree.
And there's 3 words to describe this race. Do we all know what they are? Only one hell!
Here's Lieutenant James Nealon, New Hampshire Fish and Game. Lieutenant, thanks for being with us today.
Thanks for having me.
What are some of the most common mistakes you see people make when they're heading out on the trails to hike here in New Hampshire?
It seems to me the most common is being unprepared. And I think if they just simply visited hikesafe.com and got a list of the 10 essential items and had those in their packs, they probably would have no need to ever call us at